Welcome back to another episode of GL Rustic Design. Today we're building a cabinet to go in a laundry room that has sliding barn doors across it. So here you can see me building the actual base of it. I'm using pocket holes to hold together. These are all 1x10s. I said I use pocket holes, 3 pocket holes. These 1x10s are roughly about 24 inches long, and then the longer pieces are roughly 58 inches long. I just cut them to specs. So here you can see me drilling pocket holes in 2 of the boards, just to make sure that I can connect those together. It'll be roughly 19-20 inches deep. I just took 2 1x10s, make sure they were both flush, and then put those together. And then going into the next step, so I took one of the 1x10s and then one of the ones that did not have the pocket holes in it, used a face clamp and the 1.5 inch pocket holes to connect those two. And you'll do that times 2. And then once you successfully complete that, you will take the pieces at 24 inches tall and you'll drill pocket holes top and bottom to connect the 2 longer pieces, and then you'll sit those on top of the pieces that you cut at 58 inches long, to make a really long rectangle. So like I said, so here make sure that you're you could drill. I drilled more pocket holes than I probably needed. Typically, the general rule of thumb is 1 every 10 inches, but just in this case, I knew that was going to be the only thing that was going to be holding this together. So I think I ended up putting 4, 5 pocket holes. I made sure I evenly dispersed them out. So here I took the pieces at 24 inches long, and I connected them to the ends of the longer pieces. Let's see, just make sure everything's nice and square, and then once you punch your pocket holes in there, you do one side, and then you can flip it over, do the other side, or you can set it on top and do this side. Same thing here, same thing as the bottom. Use the 1.5 inch pocket holes to connect the top piece to the sides. You could also add a touch of glue between the longer piece, the 58 inch long piece, and the 24 inch piece if you wanted to. If you didn't feel just like these pocket holes were good enough. As you can see, and kind of in the background, as I finish this, to the right, my left, to the right of the video, you see the rest of the laundry. It's a laundry room remodel. It all should come out good. So here, what I'm doing is I'm going to flip it over and I'll measure the top. This will end up being the face of it. So it's going to be roughly 24 inches long. I cut all my 1x. I cut 5 of those, so you can have 4 different sections. You can do 2 sections if you need to. And then here I'm doing 1.5 inch pocket holes in between, for the pieces that are in between, and just take the however many cubby holes that you want. We'll eventually have sliding barn doors over the front of it. You will take those and you'll evenly disperse them out. I think these end up coming somewhere around 10, 11 inches. I think it was more or less on the 11 side. But like I said, I use pocket holes and then a face clamp. to make sure that none of those pop up. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm slowly gaining subscribers. I think we're up to 78 subscribers now, and later this year we'll be building my new shop, so all that will be on video, or the majority of it will. So just please follow along with our journey. So like I said, here we're taking the 1x4s that's going to be in between the pieces that you cut at 24 inch is long for the face, and then like I said, go around and we'll attach all those to the sides. And then once you make sure all those are connected, I usually cut the 6 evenly, and then I'll leave the very last 2. It could be somewhere in the neighborhood of an 1/8 of an inch off, or it might be a 1/16 of an inch off. It's not very much off. So I usually cut the first 6. And then come back and cut the last 2 to get a very accurate measurement, so there's no gap in between the wood, or there's no overhang. So here, to connect the face to the cabinet, I'm drilling pocket holes around the whole outside of the cabinet. Once I get to the section that I want to be the bottom, I change over and I drill them from the inside up, just so that you don't see any pocket holes as you walk in the laundry room. And as you can see here, I was debating on what I wanted to do. So I turned the Craig Jig pocket hole machine around, and I punched the pocket holes on the sides and on the top piece there. All that will be hidden by the walls, or will be above, so you can't see any pocket holes. I always try to hide as many pocket holes as I can, and I'm not one to go back and fill them in. So here, using 1.5 inch pocket holes to hold the face to the cabinet. And this also helps everything get better squared. So we're just going to do a nice little 40 grit sand, just to kind of get off any of the layering that comes on the wood, any nicks on it. And then going into the next step, I cut some pieces. I found the middle where I wanted to put the middle shelf, and then I cut some pieces that were 12 inches long for the sides. And then, as you can see on the right side there, that's where I tacked it in. And this is flipped upside down, so where my head is, the top is actually going to be the bottom. I've done it that way because I knew I would have to paint. I was going to paint the top part, and the bottom part wouldn't have got painted because it would eventually be the top. So here I'm using 1.25 inch torch head screws. I clamp those down for the middle shelf to sit onto, just to give it a little bit of added support. And I also drilled pocket holes in the 2 sides and the front support pieces for the middle shelf, just to kind of help that stay where it is. And as you can see here, showing you the pocket holes, and kind of what I was doing on the inside there. So here, you can see I'm doing the sliding barn doors. I measured from the top. I measured the opening that I had, width and height. I went 1 inch or 2 over. And then I took a 1x4 and I cut it, and I ripped it in half. So it ended up being 1 3/4 inch wide, and then I made a square to act as the trim, and then the X that will be on the front of the barn door. As you can see here, same 1x4 that I ripped in half. I'll mark me 2 lines so I can do the X part. And then here I'm doing a pocket hole in each side so I can hold the X to the outside trim, and also use a clamp just make sure that's nice and flat towards each other. And then we'll do the same thing with the other side of the X, except for you have to draw 2 additional lines for the middle section. And here's the same concept. I drew an 1.5 inch pocket hole in the back side, so that I can make sure that it is secured behind. It doesn't have a chance of coming off. So if you could always add a little touch of glue if you needed to. Here, these will eventually be stained brown, with the railing being black, and the cabinet will be painted white. And then once I get done with this step, like I said, same 1.5 inch pocket hole in the bottom and the top to hold that tight. And then I'll go and I'll take a 1.5 inch Torx screw and attach the trim X to the back part. And just before, I just kind of hit it with some 40 grit sandpaper just to knock off any kind of rough spots or any kind of lettering that came on the wood as I bought it. I said all this wood can be bought from your local hardware store. I buy some of my stuff from Lowe's, and then I have a more local store that's pretty good with prices. So like I said here, using a clamp and then a 1.25 inch Torx head screw, just to kind of help hold those two together before I actually put the railing on. And then the next step, I'll actually be building the middle shelf. So you'll do 2 doors, just like so. And then the middle shelf is the same as if you were doing the top or the bottom at the very beginning. Pocket holes all down one side. Measure the distance that you need on the inside to sit on top of the support pieces. 1.5 inch pocket hole screws. Put a clamp on one side to keep it from one side being taller than the other. And then I know that these will be exposed and you'll be able to see this, so I'll come back, hit it with 40 grit sandpaper just to knock off the rough pieces from where the pocket holes went in. And then here, as you can see, it has been painted, it has been stained. I went ahead and put the back on so I can attach it to the wall. I used 1x4s, put some 2.5 inch Torx screws to hold that on, and then 1.5 inch pocket holes to hold those small 1x4s in. And then, as you can see, those pocket holes I showed in an earlier video with the support. And then you have the shelf that I cut. So painted it all special walnut, painted it antique white, and then stained it special walnut. Here I'm adding the farmhouse sliding rail. I'll make a different video showing actually how to make the sliding barn doors on any kind of cabinet appliance without having to go on Amazon and spend $90 to $100. So here I put my holes where I drilled my holes for the rail. I used 4 3.5 inch hex screws, and then so I marked my holes, and here I'm drilling holes so that it doesn't split the wood as I drill the screw into it. And then, so like I said, I make my own brackets, I make my own railing, the pieces that go between the railing I make. And then and then from there I will attach the rail to the front, to the face. I'll put a screw, and then a washer, and then you have the rail, and then another screw. And then a washer on the back side of the rail, and then the plastic piece that acts as the spacer, and then another washer, and that kind of helps hold that all together. And then it says from there, I will pop in each screw, and then drill those into the pre-hole, the pre-hole that I had drilled into the face. I said this is much cheaper. If you can buy the rail from Home Depot or Lowe's if needed. It's a little higher than where I get mine. I actually get mine in a 20-foot stick because I make I'll use 40 foot of rail a week. So I use quite a bit. So I get a bulk discount on everything. And then the next section, we're going to be attaching the actual what makes the door slide over the rail. So I grab the door that I stained special walnut. I'll make me a mark of to make sure that I leave myself a little bit of room between the door and the actual rail itself. I think it came out to be 5 3/8, I believe. So I make myself a little mark, and then I'll grab one of my sliding wheels, and I will hold that in the center on the side, but I'll center it up, put 2 wheels for each door. Then I'll pre-drill a hole into the face of the door, and then I'll take a 1.5-inch hex screw with a washer on the back of it and drill that, two of those per wheel. So you'll have 4.5-inch screws that holds 2 wheels on, and that will give you one door, and you'll do that times 2, and then you have your sliding barn doors that are attached. That they roll pretty easy. Like I said, I'll make a separate video here in the next few weeks, maybe after my next project I get out, try to explain that. But like I said, if you have any questions, comment below. I'll try to add some pictures of the finished project and it not just sitting in my shop. But thank you for watching.